My hands trembled as I held the wine glass. Across the elegantly decorated Christmas table, my grandfather stood up, his voice cutting through the cheerful holiday music. "Elena," he said, his eyes fixed on me, "why haven't you been managing the Preston Art Gallery? The gallery I transferred to you 5 years ago when your mother passed away?" I froze. The room went silent. My Uncle Richard's fork clattered against his plate. "Grandpa," I whispered. "What gallery? I don't own any gallery. I've been painting in a studio apartment, barely making rent." My Aunt Patricia let out a nervous laugh. "Dad, you must be confused. Elena was too young to handle such responsibility. Richard has been managing it for the family." My grandfather's jaw tightened. "Managing it? Or living off it?" He pulled out a folder from beside his chair. "Because according to these documents, Elena has been the legal owner since December 2019. Every penny the gallery earned was supposed to go to her." I felt the blood drain from my face. 5 years. 5 years I'd been struggling, taking odd jobs, selling my paintings for barely enough to survive. 5 years I thought I had nothing. "That can't be right," I said, my voice barely audible. "Mom never mentioned anything about leaving me a gallery." "Because she wanted it to be a surprise for your 25th birthday," my grandfather said, his voice breaking slightly. "She made me promise not to tell you until then. She wanted you to focus on your art education first, to develop your own style without the pressure of managing a business. The plan was for your uncle to act as temporary trustee until you turned 25. Then he was supposed to hand everything over to you." I turned to look at my Uncle Richard. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "But you turned 25 3 years ago," my grandfather continued. "And nobody said a word to you, did they?" "The gallery. I remembered my mother talking about it when I was younger. The Preston Gallery, named after her maiden name. She'd built it from nothing, showcasing emerging artists, giving people like me a chance. It had been her pride and joy. And then she died in that car accident, and everything fell apart. Or, so I thought." "Uncle Richard?" I said slowly. "Is this true?" He cleared his throat. "Elena, sweetheart, you have to understand. You were so young, so inexperienced. We didn't want to burden you." "Burden me?" The words felt foreign in my mouth. "By giving me what was mine?" "The gallery required significant management." Aunt Patricia jumped in. "You were grieving, unstable. We thought it was better to wait." "Wait for what?" My grandfather's voice boomed. "Until she was 40? 50? Until you drained every last dollar?" He threw another document on the table. "I hired a private investigator 3 months ago. Want to know what he found?" The room felt like it was spinning. I gripped the edge of the table. "The Preston Gallery generates approximately $400,000 in profit annually," my grandfather said, his words landing like hammer blows. "Over 5 years, that's $2 million. Money that should have been Elena's. Money that would have changed her life completely. $2 million. While I'd been eating ramen noodles and working as a waitress between art commissions, while I'd been sleeping on a futon in a 400-square-foot apartment with water stains on the ceiling. Where did the money go?" I asked quietly. My grandfather opened the folder. "Let me tell you exactly where it went. Your uncle and aunt purchased a lake house in New Hampshire. $250,000, paid in cash. They bought a luxury SUV, $80,000. They sent their daughter, your cousin Jessica, to a private university in Switzerland. $60,000 per year, times 4 years. They've been taking European vacations twice a year. They renovated their kitchen and bathrooms. They bought art, ironically enough, for their private collection. Each item on the list felt like a slap. I thought about all those family dinners where Aunt Patricia would show me photos of their trips, their renovations, their new car, how she'd smile sympathetically and say, "Oh, honey, we wish we could help you more, but times are tough for everyone." "But that's not even the worst part," my grandfather said, and something in his voice made my blood run cold. "Tell her, Richard. Tell her what else you did." My uncle's face had gone from red to ashen. "Dad, please." "Tell her about the commissions." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What commissions?" My grandfather pulled out more papers. "Elena, do you remember 3 years ago when you were contacted by the Whitmore Foundation? They wanted to commission a mural for their new building. A $50,000 project." I remembered. God, did I remember. It would have been my big break. I'd submitted my portfolio, had a promising initial conversation, and then nothing. They'd gone silent. I'd followed up for weeks and finally got a terse email saying they'd decided to go in a different direction. What about it? I whispered. Your Uncle Richard sent them an email, my grandfather said. From a fake account, but using information only family would know. He told them you were mentally unstable, that you'd failed to complete previous projects, that you were known for missing deadlines and having emotional breakdowns. He attached fake legal documents claiming you'd been institutionalized. The room tilted. I grabbed the table harder. That's not all, my grandfather continued relentlessly. The Morrison Gallery that was going to showcase your work 2 years ago? He told them you'd stolen artwork from other artists. The corporate client who wanted paintings for their office building? He sent them photoshopped images of your work with intentional flaws, making it look like you couldn't execute basic techniques. The art residency in Vermont you applied for? He wrote to them as a former professor, claiming you'd plagiarized your thesis. Every lost opportunity, every door that had mysteriously closed in my face, every time I thought I was finally getting somewhere and then hit a wall. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Why would you do that? Because, my grandfather said when my uncle remained silent, if you succeeded, you might start asking questions. You might wonder why you were struggling when your mother had left you so well provided for. You might talk to other people in the art world. You might hear about the gallery. As long as they could keep you poor, desperate, and isolated, they could keep stealing from you. Aunt Patricia stood up suddenly. This is ridiculous. We've done nothing but help this family. Sit down, my grandfather commanded, and something in his voice made her comply. I'm not finished. Elena, when is the last time your uncle or aunt invited you to a family event? I thought about it. I don't know. Years, I guess. They always said they'd call me, but they avoided you, my grandfather said. They dodged your calls. They made excuses because they didn't want you anywhere near the gallery, didn't want you asking questions, didn't want you connecting with the art community in any real way. And when they did see you, what did they tell you? I remembered. God, I remembered every word. They said Mom didn't leave much, that the gallery had closed down after she died, that there were debts. All lies, my grandfather said. The gallery thrived. Your mother had excellent business insurance. Everything was paid off. And Richard here made sure to tell everyone in the family the same story, that Elena was too fragile to know the truth, that she was better off not knowing about her mother's failed business, that it would only hurt her. You told people the gallery failed? I stared at my uncle. That was Mom's legacy, her dream. We did what we thought was best, Aunt Patricia said, but her voice lacked conviction. Best for who? I shot back. Best for you? While you took vacations on my money, I was painting houses to pay rent. While you sent Jessica to Switzerland, I was using student loan money to buy art supplies. While you remodeled your kitchen, I was eating at soup kitchens. Now, Elena, that's an exaggeration. Is it? My voice was rising now. 3 months ago, I had to choose between buying insulin for my diabetes and paying my electricity bill. I chose insulin and painted by candlelight for a week. Was that an exaggeration? The silence that followed was deafening. My grandfather's voice softened. I didn't know things were that bad, sweetheart. If I had known sooner. He cleared his throat. I was traveling so much after your grandmother died. I trusted Richard to handle things. I should have checked. I should have known. You couldn't have known, I said quietly. They made sure of that too, didn't they? How many times did I try to call you Uncle Richard? How many messages did I leave? We were busy. You were screening calls, my grandfather interrupted. The investigator found that too. Anytime Elena tried to reach out to family, Richard and Patricia would intercept. They told me you were doing fine, that you preferred to be independent, that you'd asked for space. They told you I was too ill to be bothered, that I'd moved to a nursing home, that I didn't remember people anymore. You told me he had dementia, I said, staring at my aunt. You said he didn't even know who I was anymore. I thought it would be easier for both of you. Easier? My voice cracked. Do you know what it's like to think your last living grandparent doesn't remember you exist? I grieved for you, Grandpa. I mourned you while you were still alive. I saw tears in my grandfather's eyes. And I thought you'd moved on, started a new life, didn't want to be bothered with an old man's company. They told me you were traveling, pursuing your art in Europe, that you'd call when you settled down. I've never left the state, I whispered. I couldn't afford a bus ticket to the next town over. The scope of their deception was overwhelming. It wasn't just about money. They'd stolen my family, my support system, my mother's legacy, my career opportunities, and 5 years of my life. The investigator found something else, my grandfather said, his voice hard as steel now. Bank records show they've been systematically removing artwork from the gallery's collection. Your mother's personal pieces, the ones she wanted you to have been sold through private dealers. The money was deposited into offshore accounts. Mom's paintings? I felt tears burning my eyes. Her actual paintings? The ones she made with her own hands, my grandfather confirmed. Gone. Sold to collectors in Dubai, Singapore, London. Pieces you'll likely never be able to recover. Those paintings. My mother's self-portraits. Her landscapes. The abstract series she'd worked on for 10 years. Irreplaceable. Priceless. Not because of their monetary value, but because they were her. They were all I had left of her voice, her vision, her soul. I want them back, I said, my voice breaking. We'll try, my grandfather said gently. But Elena, some of them are gone. I'm so sorry. I looked at my uncle and aunt, these people I'd loved, people I'd trusted, people who'd bounced me on their knees when I was a child, who'd come to my elementary school art shows, who'd hugged me at my mother's funeral and promised they'd always be there for me. How could you? I asked simply. It wasn't supposed to be like this, my Uncle Richard said finally, his voice hoarse. At first, we were just managing things. But then Jessica needed tuition, and we needed some repairs on the house. And it was just sitting there, and you were so young, and we thought we'd pay it back. But you never did, my grandfather said flatly. You got comfortable, you got greedy, and then you got desperate to keep the secret. What happens now? I asked, looking at my grandfather. He pulled out his phone. Now, I call the lawyer who's been waiting in the next room, and we discuss criminal charges. Criminal charges? Aunt Patricia's voice went shrill. Over a family misunderstanding? Family misunderstanding? A voice came from the doorway. A woman in a business suit entered, carrying a briefcase. Mrs. Morrison, this is far beyond a misunderstanding. Embezzlement, fraud, identity theft, forgery of legal documents, defamation of character, and possibly elder abuse. These are felonies. Multiple felonies. Attorney Sarah Chen, my grandfather introduced her. She's been building a case for the past 3 months. Miss. Chen opened her briefcase and pulled out documents. Elena, I need you to understand the full scope of what was done to you. Your Uncle Richard forged your signature on dozens of documents. He created a fake power of attorney. He filed false tax returns in your name. He told the IRS you were earning income from the gallery, income you never saw, which means you owe back taxes on money you never received. I owe taxes? The hits kept coming. Not anymore, Miss Chen said. We've already contacted the IRS with evidence of the fraud. They're investigating, but your uncle and aunt will face tax evasion charges on top of everything else. We can work this out as a family, my uncle tried. Elena, we'll pay you back. We'll make it right. With what money? Miss Chen asked coldly. Your accounts have been frozen as of this morning. Your assets are being evaluated. The gallery has been placed in temporary receivership pending the outcome of the investigation. Your daughter Jessica has been contacted, as she benefited from stolen funds. You leave Jessica out of this. Aunt Patricia jumped up. She didn't know anything. Then she has nothing to worry about, Miss Chen said. But her tuition was paid with embezzled funds. That's a fact that will be documented. I thought about my cousin Jessica. We'd been close once as kids, but over the years she'd drifted away. Or had she been kept away? How much did she know? Elena, my grandfather said gently, Miss Chen has prepared several options for how to proceed. This is your decision. They stole from you. You're the victim here. What do you want? What did I want? I looked at my Uncle Richard, who'd taught me to ride a bike, at Aunt Patricia, who'd helped me make my first Halloween costume. These were the people who were supposed to protect me after my mother died. I want the truth, I said finally. I want to know everything. Every penny, every email, every lie. I want to see all of it. Miss Chen nodded and began laying out documents. For the next hour, she walked me through it all. The forged signatures, the diverted bank transfers, the fake emails sent to galleries and clients, the stolen paintings, the offshore accounts, the web of lies told to family members to keep everyone separated and in the dark. The amount of planning that had gone into this was staggering. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a single bad decision. This was a systematic, years-long campaign to steal my inheritance and destroy any chance I had of discovering the truth. The financial damages are approximately $2,300,000, Miss Chen said. That includes the gallery profits, the value of the stolen artwork, lost commissions due to defamation, and emotional distress damages. Additionally, you're entitled to punitive damages, which could triple that amount. $2 million. The number was so large it didn't feel real. But that's not all you've lost, Miss Chen continued softly. You've lost time, opportunities. Your reputation in the art community has been damaged. You've lived in poverty while struggling with a chronic illness. The psychological impact alone is significant. The court will take all of this into account. What are we looking at for sentencing? I asked quietly. For the financial crimes? Your uncle could face 10 to 15 years in federal prison. Your aunt, as an accomplice, could face 5 to 10 years. The defamation and identity theft charges could add additional time. If they cooperate fully, provide restitution, and plead guilty, those sentences could be reduced. If they fight this and we go to trial. She paused. They could spend the rest of their lives in prison. I heard Aunt Patricia sob. Part of me felt sorry for her. But then I remembered painting by candlelight, choosing between medicine and electricity, thinking I was alone in the world. I want to pursue full prosecution, I said, my voice steady. I want them held accountable for everything they did. Elena, please, my uncle said. We're family. Family, I repeated. You used that word to steal from me, to manipulate me, to isolate me. You used family as a weapon. You don't get to hide behind it now. I agree with Elena's decision, my grandfather said firmly. Richard, Patricia, you had every chance to do the right thing. For 5 years. You chose greed every single time. The rest of the evening was a blur. More lawyers arrived. Police were called. I had to give statements. My uncle and aunt were read their rights. They were handcuffed at my grandfather's Christmas table, the holiday decorations looking absurdly cheerful against the grim reality. As they were let out, Aunt Patricia turned to me. You'll regret this, she said, her voice venomous. You're destroying this family. No, I said quietly. You destroyed it 5 years ago. I'm just making sure everyone knows. After they were gone, the house felt enormous and empty. My grandfather sat down heavily in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 78 years. I'm sorry, he said. I should have checked on you. I should have known something was wrong. I sat beside him and took his hand. They lied to both of us. They kept us apart on purpose. This isn't your fault. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a set of keys. These are the keys to the Preston Gallery. It's yours now, has been yours all along. I've had the locks changed and everything has been secured. Tomorrow, if you want, we can go there together. You can see your mother's dream, your inheritance. I held the keys, feeling their weight. My mother's gallery. My gallery. There's also this, he said, pulling out an envelope. Your mother wrote you a letter. She gave it to me before she died. Asked me to give it to you on your 25th birthday. I only recently found out Richard never told you about any of it. I should have given this to you 3 years ago. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope. My mother's handwriting swam before my eyes. My dearest Elena, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you're 25 years old. I hope you've grown into the amazing woman I know you'll be. The Preston Gallery is yours now. I built it for you, for artists like you, for people who need a chance to be seen. I couldn't read anymore through my tears. My grandfather put his arm around me and we sat there in silence. Over the next few months, the legal process ground forward. My uncle and aunt tried to fight the charges at first, hiring expensive lawyers with money they didn't have anymore. But the evidence was overwhelming. Miss Chen had built an airtight case. 3 months after that Christmas dinner, they accepted a plea deal. Uncle Richard was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution plus damages, totaling $4.2 million. Aunt Patricia received 8 years. Their assets, including their house, cars, and jewelry, were seized and sold. The money went toward my restitution. The art pieces that had been sold were harder to recover. Miss Chen worked with international art recovery specialists. We managed to track down 7 of my mother's 15 paintings. The others were gone, sold to private collectors who had no idea they were purchasing stolen property. Some of those collectors agreed to sell the pieces back to me at cost. Others refused. 3 paintings remain missing to this day. Jessica, my cousin, was spared criminal charges. The investigation found no evidence she'd known about the fraud, but she had to withdraw from her university and return home. The tuition money dried up, and her parents' legal troubles made her life complicated. She reached out to me once, apologizing for everything, saying she had no idea. I believe her, but I'm not ready to have a relationship with her yet. Maybe someday. The gallery was in better shape than I'd expected. Richard had been skimming profits, but he'd been smart enough to maintain the business itself. He knew that if the gallery failed completely, questions would be asked. So he'd kept it running, kept the artists happy, kept the reputation intact, all while funneling money into his own pockets. Walking into the Preston Gallery for the first time was surreal. I saw my mother everywhere. In the layout she'd designed, in the lighting she'd chosen, in the mission statement painted on the wall. Every artist deserves to be seen. The staff were shocked to learn the truth. They'd been told I wanted nothing to do with the gallery, that I'd moved abroad, that I'd rejected my mother's legacy. Learning that I'd been kept in the dark, kept in poverty, while they'd been working to make my inheritance profitable, made them angry on my behalf. One of them, an older woman named Margaret, who'd worked with my mother from the beginning, cried when she met me. "You look so much like her," she said. "Sarah would be so proud of you," and so angry at what they did. I hired a new management team. I threw myself into learning the business, and slowly, I began to rebuild my own art career, the one that had been sabotaged for so long. The art community rallied around me when the truth came out. The Whitmore Foundation reached out, apologizing profusely for believing the lies. They commissioned a mural from me, doubling the original offer to $100,000. The Morrison Gallery that had rejected me offered a solo show. The corporate client gave me a contract for an entire series. Opportunities I'd lost years ago suddenly reappeared. People who'd been told I was unreliable, unstable, or dishonest learned the truth and wanted to make amends. My reputation was restored, and my career finally began to take off. But the best part? I opened a new wing of the Preston Gallery specifically for emerging artists who'd been overlooked, rejected, or underestimated. Artists like I'd been. I called it the Elena Morrison Foundation after my mother's maiden and married names combined. Every year, we provide full scholarships to 10 artists, giving them gallery space, supplies, mentorship, and a stipend to live on while they develop their work. I think my mother would have loved that. I visit my grandfather every Sunday now. We have dinner together and we talk about art, about family, about everything we missed during those 5 stolen years. He's helped me learn the business side of running the gallery. He's also helped me understand that forgiveness is complicated, that family can hurt you in ways strangers never could. But that doesn't mean you have to let that pain define you. I've moved into a loft space above the gallery. It's beautiful, with huge windows and natural light. I have a proper studio now, with every supply I could dream of. I don't have to choose between medicine and electricity anymore. I don't have to paint by candlelight unless I want to. Sometimes I still wake up panicking, thinking it's all been a dream, that I'm still in that 400-square-foot apartment with water stains on the ceiling. But then I see my mother's paintings on the walls, the ones we managed to recover, and I remember, this is real. This is mine. This is what she wanted for me all along. The stolen years still hurt. I think about what I could have accomplished, who I could have become if I'd had those 5 years with security and support instead of poverty and sabotage. But I also think about the art I made during that time. The paintings I created in tiny apartments, the murals I painted on the cheap, the work I did when I had nothing but hope and determination. That work was raw and real in a way that maybe it wouldn't have been if things had been easy. And now, with the platform and resources I have, I can help other artists who are where I was. I can be the support system I never had. So when people ask me if I regret pursuing criminal charges against my uncle and aunt, if I wish we could have resolved things as a family, I tell them the truth. They stopped being family the moment they chose to steal from me. They stopped being family when they kept me from my grandfather. They stopped being family when they sabotaged my dreams and let me suffer. Real family doesn't do that. Real family protects you, lifts you up, celebrates your success instead of destroying it. I found my real family. It's my grandfather, who fought for me when he learned the truth. It's Margaret and the gallery staff, who welcomed me with open arms. It's the artists I mentor, who remind me every day why my mother built this place. It's Miss Chen, who became more than just my attorney, but a friend. And it's my mother, whose legacy I get to carry forward every single day. The Preston Gallery thrives. My art career flourishes. And every time I unlock the gallery doors in the morning, I think about that Christmas dinner, about my grandfather's question that changed everything. I think about how close I came to never knowing the truth. How I might have spent my whole life struggling, thinking I had nothing, while my inheritance was stolen from under me. But I did find out. Justice was served. And now, I get to live the life my mother dreamed for me. That's not revenge. That's restoration. And it's the best gift I could have ever received.